Toyota has been on a roll recently. They facelifted the Avanza, the Vios, and maybe we'll get the facelifted Fortuner soon, hopefully. Anyway, they just launched this facelifted Hilux just a couple of days ago. I think it's Toyota's best facelift of the year. But is it worth your money? Let's find out. I'm not usually a fan of Toyota's designs, especially their more recent ones, but I like what they've done to the new Hilux. Unlike a lot of Toyota's most recent facelifts, the new Hilux makes no pretense at looking aerodynamic. It looks chunky, it looks rugged, and it looks like a proper truck. And thankfully it doesn't have those fake side air vents that you find on Toyota's most recent facelifts. I mean, those could look good on a lowered car, but they look out of place on SUVs, MPVs, and pickups. The lines on the new Hilux look more purposeful and more mature. One of my biggest complaints about the pre-facelift Hilux was that the nose looked a bit too pointy. The front overhang was too long, and the bumper was quite small for a pickup. You don't notice it right away, but they flattened the grille and the bumper to give the new Hilux a shorter front overhang. I think it looks more macho with a shorter overhang, and it also helps with the approach angle. The new grille has a more robust looking design. It has a thicker frame, and it's mostly black. There's still a bit of chrome, but there's a lot less of it. At the bottom of the bumper is a faux skid plate. It does have a real skid plate though, a bit further down. The new Hilux now comes with fender flares. The fender flares extend into the bumper and form the shroud for the fog lamps. At the top of the fender flares you have these silver notches. The Hilux now comes with automatic LED headlamps. The design has been slightly updated. They have these barely visible fake air vents underneath the headlights. It comes with 18-inch wheels painted in gloss black. Here at the back it has LED taillights. The rear bumper is painted in gunmetal. You have black claddings with Hilux badging surrounding the third brake light and the tailgate opener. And speaking of the tailgate, it is now dampened, so it should be easier to open and close. It has a rear sports bar that's painted in the same color scheme, which is black and gunmetal. The new Hilux has plenty of accessories and black claddings, but I don't think it's overdone. All of these little additions add more detail to the exterior, which I think make it look more interesting. You can easily overdo detail, but I think it's tastefully done on the Hilux. Overall, it's a very coherent and purposeful looking design. Okay, so this is the interior of the new Hilux. It looks very similar to the pre-facelift model. So the most obvious change is the screen. It finally gets an integrated 8-inch screen, and it doesn't look aftermarket anymore. You also have knobs for your volume control and for your tuning. This has Apple CarPlay, it has Android Auto, and it finally has a reverse camera. which is one thing that the previous Hilux was missing. It gets a leather-wrapped steering wheel. Over here you have buttons for your infotainment. It has cruise control, but instead of having buttons on the steering wheel, you have this stalk over here for increasing your speed and also for turning the cruise control on and off. Over here you have this brushed aluminum accent, which extends to the door cards, and you also have ambient lighting. Almost everything is made of hard plastic. Like on the previous Hilux, you have these dual glove boxes. The one at the top has an air vent for cooling your drinks, and it's dampened. It has single zone climate control. Over here you have two cup holders. The Hilux still has a 6-speed transmission, the same as the pre-facelift model. And you get a mechanical handbrake. The seats are covered in fabric, but it's high quality fabric. It doesn't feel cheap. You have a leather wrapped armrest, which is nicely padded. Underneath you have ample storage. Headroom is about the same as the previous Hilux. That's about 3 inches. I'm 5'8". Both the front seat and the driver's seat are manually adjustable. And of course you get a start-stop button. Okay, so here at the back, you don't get a lot of toys. There are no air vents, no USB ports, no 12-volt outlets. You do get a center armrest though, with two cup holders. Headroom is about this much. I'm guessing that's 1.5 inches. And I'm 5'8". So you do get a handlebar here, but it's too close to my head. The Hilux is still lagging behind the Wildtrak in terms of tech, but for most Titos, it probably doesn't matter. At least it has the basics now. It finally has a reverse camera, which I think is very important for a vehicle of this size. It also has front and rear parking sensors, and they finally updated the infotainment screen. It has an 8-inch screen, it has Apple CarPlay, it has Android Auto, and it has support for voice commands. It has automatic headlamps, automatic wipers. While it may not be ahead in terms of tech, at least it doesn't feel ancient anymore. I think it's one of the best equipped Toyotas for the price. The Hilux still uses the GD engine, but it's been updated for both the 2.4 and the 2.8 displacements. The 2.4 gets a modest boost. It now produces 148 horsepower and 400 Newton meters of torque. The 2.8 gets a more significant increase from 177 horsepower and 420 Newton meters of torque. It now gets 201 horsepower and 500 Newton meters of torque, which is almost the same output as the Ranger bi-turbo. All 4x2 variants of the Hilux get the 2.4 engine, and only the 4x4 variants get the 2.8. I'm not sure if they updated the suspension. The pre-facelift Hilux had a pretty harsh ride. Hopefully this one rides a bit better. Pricing for the Hilux is a bit higher than the competition. The Conquest 4x2 sells for 1.45 million, and the top of the line 2.8 sells for 1.83 million. But like I said before, a lot of people are willing to pay premium for the Toyota badge. So in summary, I think the aesthetic changes work. I think it looks a lot better now. The horsepower bump, especially for the 2.8, is a major upgrade. And in terms of tech, it may not be leading, but at least it doesn't feel like it's from 2010 anymore. If I were to nitpick, I'd say I wish it had nicer materials on the interior. I wish it had leather seats. I mean, leather seats make sense on a work truck because they're easier to clean and they look nicer too. And also, I wish it had more active safety tech. Overall, though, this is a good effort from Toyota. At least in terms of power and looks, it is near the front of the pack now. And it has that coveted Toyota badge to boot.